What if I told you that we are the ones that brought the IPC to Belobog? Businesses Come Knocking is an adventure mission that you can unlock after you finish the main story on the planet. During the mission, the Trailblazer finds a signal from an IPC salesperson tasked with monitoring Jarilo-VI, alerting them that the civilization on the planet has survived, which in turn may have led to the events happening in the newest Trailblaze Continuance Quest. Now look, the IPC probably has the means to figure this out even without our help. And maybe this side quest has nothing to do with what happens in 1.4, but it's still funny to think that all of this is our fault. So, the new Future Market quest brought heated discussions among the players. Factions like the IPC and characters like Topaz always entice opposing views and opinions. So, in light of that, I wanted to make a video where I explored the IPC and Topaz's character, offering a glimpse of light into how this massive interstellar corporation is operating throughout the universe. This video is not a critique nor a means to justify their actions, but an in-depth look at the IPC and Topaz's character.
The mighty hammer of the Amber Lord has struck! We're waiting for you.
The IPC is one of the biggest factions in Honkai Star Rail. They describe themselves as avid followers of Qlipoth the Preservation. I put followers in quotation marks because they are a bit weird. Some members are literal zealots, but the IPC itself does some things that kinda go against the preservation. Keep that in mind, I'll get back to that later. The IPC is also an enormous corporation that advocates for free trade. In theory, of course, cause the market ain't that free when you are the ones that issue the currency and have monopoly over the resources. In fact, if one were to compare interstellar trade to a sports competition, the IPC would be the top athletes as well as the sport, the venue and the rules themselves. Its absolute dominance over wealth and relentless expansion has given them the image of a conspiratorial business dictatorship, and in a way they are. But they don't really seem to care about what others think and seem focused solely on one thing: to support Qlipoth on building walls. Qlipoth, also called the Amber Lord by their followers, are one of the oldest Aeons. Qlipoth is known for two things: building walls to protect the living worlds from the voracity, and not giving a damn about mortals. Even after countless Amber eras of gathering materials for them, Qlipoth never recognized the IPC. It's important to mention though that the IPC has at least two emanators of preservation among them, so I guess that you can call that a form of recognition, but I feel like that is more of a personal recognition rather than them acknowledging the IPC itself. Either way, the relationship between the IPC and their Aeon is a strange one. Despite the IPC proclaiming to be devoted followers of the preservation, their actions seem to directly conflict with their Aeon. The preservation is a very isolationist philosophy, advocating for building walls to keep the world separated. The IPC, on the other hand, does the exact opposite by connecting worlds through trade and a unified currency. And this isn't even the strangest thing. It's heavily implied that the IPC knows more about Qlipoth than anyone else in the universe, but they keep the information a secret. When the Astral Ecology School started an archaeological project that revealed that the Dusk Wars did not end with Qlipoth's birth, they were coerced by the IPC to give up. They are keen on keeping the truth hidden for some reason. Is it to protect Qlipoth's reputation, or maybe something else? More on the conspiracy theory side. The creation of the IPC can be tracked back almost 100 Amber eras ago. They originated as a support team to assist Qlipoth in building their celestial comet wall. Their followers traveled to different worlds to gather supplies as an offering to the Amber Lord. Since they only collected construction materials, however, the support team could only offer construction materials to trade. It makes sense, right? Then one of the support team members, Fleming, began trading for for construction materials by offering other resources, such as fruit, for a certain marked up price. This allowed the support team to realize that they need to acquire and supply desirable goods to trade with partners. Another member of the support team, Dongfang Qixing, decided that to be the only trade business in the cosmos, they must set their own rules. After a couple of years, Fleming and Dongfang Qixing announced the reformation of the support team and started the IPC. To better facilitate business among different worlds, the IPC introduced the universal galactic currency, credits. They also assigned a price tag to the specialties of every planet, which locals now purchased directly from the IPC using its credits. While the organization still claims that its primary goal remains in supporting its Aeon, today it engages in a multitude of other businesses and keeps expanding across the universe. As one of the founders of the IPC, Fleming is one of the most mysterious characters in the game. He is said to be the most powerful person in the universe after the Aeons, and remains, even to this day, the IPC's biggest stakeholder. Since the IPC was founded around 770 Ember eras ago, and given that each Ember era can last between 76 to 240 Trailblaze years, he should be between 60,000 and 180,000 years old, which, if you ask me, is quite a lot. The IPC claims that Fleming is still alive, and not only that, he is an active member of the board of directors, having attended all 40,600 board meetings. His wealth is said to be beyond literal count, with men even calling him the Aeon of Wealth. But since Fleming seems more like a legend than an actual person nowadays, many people theorize that his name became a title inherited through generations by his family. Others believe that Fleming used his wealth to obtain immortality, while others suspect that he became data and discarded his mortal shell. Some even think that he already became a god/Aeon, but one thing is for sure: all the information about him remains top secret. On the other hand, Dongfang Qixing is way less mysterious, having no text that would suggest that he is alive today. But to give him credit, he was the one responsible for introducing the cosmos-wide trade regulations and creating the foundations of IPC's trade business. Like any other corporation, the IPC has a hierarchical structure for leadership and the employees of the company. At the top of the company are the 7 members of the board of directors. These are the people who run the IPC. Do not confuse them with the heads of the 7 departments. While some of the board members are also department heads, not all department heads are part of the board. The members of the board have the rank of P48 or higher. As of now, we know 4 out of the 7 members: Fleming, Madame Scarred Eye, Taravan Kiani, and Arita. 3 out of these 4 board members are also department heads. So let's talk about them. The IPC is composed of 7 departments. Each department has a crucial role in the operations of the IPC throughout the universe. The people in charge of administrating the activities of each department are referred to as department's head leaders. They have the rank of P47 or higher and are the primary candidates for a role on the board of directors when a new spot opens up. The marketing development department is led by Oswaldo Schneider. Wrong Oswaldo, sorry. They are in charge of integrating new worlds into the IPC's controlled universal business system. Oswaldo is a former nameless, described as a passionate and hot-blooded young man, particularly in his belief towards Qlipoth, which, along with his expansionist ideas, brought him a lot of notoriety. Although still young and inexperienced, Oswaldo convinced many new worlds to join the IPC, and people believe that he will soon rise to the rank of a board director. Next is the Business Consolidation Department led by Madam Scarred Eye. They are in charge of connecting new markets to the IPC's delivery network, allowing them to take inventory of the supplies, evaluate the resources of a planet, and maintain the corporation's facilities. The Business Consolidation Department employs 45% of the IPC's workforce. Madam Scarred Eye is also one of the members of the board of directors. The Technology Department is led by Yabuli, a well-known scientist with a strong business sense. She is said to have intriguing ties with the Intelligentsia Guild, which primarily reports its findings to her department. Because of her power to select projects and allocate funds, Yabuli is referred as the de facto leader of the guild. Oh, and let's not forget about the Cool People Department, which you can be a part of if you subscribe to the channel and give this video a thumbs up for more content about the Honkai series. Our motto is all for the Honkai lore. The Building Material Logistics Department is led by Teravan Kiani, a ruthless businessman and one of the two known emanators of preservation in the IPC. They are IPC's oldest department, carrying out the duties of the Ember Lord support team by delivering construction materials to Qlipoth. What's very interesting is the fact that while his department is responsible for transporting materials to Qlipoth, and he is also an emanator of preservation, Teravan is suspected of not being a believer. Just like Madam Scarred Eye, Teravan is also part of the board of directors. The Strategic Investment Department is the department to which Topaz belongs. The leader of the department is Diamond, the other known emanator of preservation in the IPC. Diamond is also the founder of the subordinate faction of non-performing asset liquidation specialists, who are described as the IPC's most practically capable workers. Besides that, not much is known about them. The last two departments are the Talent Motivation Department, led by these guys. Yeah, I'm not gonna pronounce that. And the Traditional Project Department, led by Arita. While we know almost nothing about the Talent Motivation Department, the Traditional Project Department's head is another member of the board of directors. Arita is described as a kind and amiable old man, though under his leadership the Traditional Project Department is mockingly called a retirement home for people with no future. Next in the pecking order of the company are the senior managers like Topaz and Adventurine. They work directly under the department heads and are given the ranks between P44 and P46. Once an employee reaches P40, they can purchase a Fate Bonds, representing Fleming's affirmation of the staff member. P35 staff members gain access to the Cloud Mansion at Pier Point, which is where the main headquarters of the IPC are located. P25 members are the branch directors of the departments and P16 are the supervisors. Lastly, the lowest rank is P13, regular staff members tasked with odd jobs. Finally, we can talk about Yelena. Who's Yelena, you ask? Well, that's Topaz's real name. You didn't believe that her real name was actually Topaz, right? Anyway, Topaz is a senior manager of the Strategic Investment Department and leader of the Special Debt Spigot team. Her main job is debt collecting. Topaz is also a member of the 10 Stonehearts, an elite group in the Strategic Investment Department named after precious stones. The group is led by Diamond and consists of Topaz, Aventurine, Opal, Obsidian, Jade, Emerald, and 3 unnamed members, which, if I have to guess, would be Ruby, Sapphire, and maybe Pearl? Pasto's partner, Nambi, is a special trotter with an affinity for riches. Topaz had to feed Nambi several precious items for the trotter to follow her aboard her ecological ship. After eating the treasures that Topaz gave them, Nambi's biology and intelligence showed drastic developments, effectively turning them into a treasure detector. Because of this talent, Nambi became her most trusted partner and accompanies her on her job. And don't worry, before you ask, Nambi is a former employee of the IPC and has their own salary. Nambi aside, Topaz has an affinity for small animals to the point where she brings cute pets across the universe on her starship. Potassium comes from a small planet that suffered from extreme air pollution. While the wealthy had the means to relocate to other planets, the poor people had no choice but to survive on their own. Soon after the IPC implemented an environmental restorative plan, the ecology gradually recovered and the world regained its former glory. To revitalize the planet, every citizen had to become a permanent long-life employee of the IPC, but even so, Topaz considers the trade more than worth it. Topaz genuinely believes that the IPC is the only salvation for some planets that share a similar fate to hers. As for the price that the IPC demands, well, let's say that being stripped of your freedom, even if you have opportunities to grow and live a good life within the IPC, is... you know what? I'm not gonna say anything. It's still better than being dead, I guess. More than 700 years ago, the architects of Belobog borrowed money from the IPC to bolster their defenses in preparation for the Legion's attack. The repayment period was 280 years, but after less than a century, the eternal freeze hit the planet, and the IPC thought that the civilization on Jarilo-VI was wiped out, writing off the debt as a loss. Now, realizing that the people on the planet survived, the IPC came to collect the debt, with interest, of course. The number is supposedly so large that even Bronya couldn't read it. By that alone, we can assume that the debt will probably take several generations to be paid. I want to point something out. The IPC doesn't really care about Belobog, Topaz does. And she was the one who insisted on being in charge of this project. Himeko even mentions that Belobog was lucky because of this. There is no way for us to know for sure what would have happened if Topaz didn't want to take on this project. Maybe the IPC would have ignored Belobog since this project was described as high risk, low reward, or maybe things might have taken a turn for the worse. Topaz mentions that the future of the people in Belobog was already bought, meaning that in the eyes of the IPC, Jarilo-VI was already under their control. This is reflected in the attitude of the workers that took over the mines. In their eyes, the IPC already owned the planet, so they could do whatever they want. If Topaz wasn't so keen on taking this project, the IPC would likely have just taken over the planet by force. Topaz not only did stop them from forcefully taking over, but she even offered a contract to Bronya to resolve the matter peacefully and restore the planet's ecology to its former glory, which we found out later in the quest that wasn't guaranteed. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't think that Topaz was in the right either. She was trying to save Belobog and its people, true, but her ways were not the best. Due to her own experience, Topaz projected her own situation on Bronya and the people of Belobog, believing that there was no way for them to survive without the IPC's help. But she was proven wrong after she saw that the people of Belobog were much more resilient and willing to fight for themselves than her own. The Engine of Creation, a giant tool meant to terraform the planet and restore the ecology, together with Himeko and the Astral Express vouching for them, brought the situation to a halt for the moment, but don't forget, Belobog still has to repay the debt. Potato quickly became one of my favorite characters in Star Rail. She is a character that perfectly represents how most people are. Well-intentioned individuals who make mistakes, doing their best to work in a flawed system. But despite that, she was able to recognize her mistake and move on to do the best for the people in Belobog in their current situation. If we compare her from a moral standpoint to characters like Kafka and Jingliu, she's definitely not as bad. But the type of evil that we encounter in real life will always spark a stronger reaction than an unfamiliar one. We don't see people like Kafka in our everyday lives, but we see people like Topaz everywhere around us. When this type of encounter is reproduced in any media, it will automatically bring out a much stronger response. We know that killing is way worse, but the majority of us never encounter a murderer, so we don't know how to focus on that. Instead, we tend to focus on other stuff.